What comment has a woman made to you that made you nope out of there? Just knew her the day before. Was about to set up a date by phone and she literally told me, later you're gonna give me that engineer money and I'll buy a nice BMW while you'll be working for it. Yep. Nope. See ya. I see stuff like this and just wonder what gives them the confidence to say stuff like this. Nobody calls them out on it. And there's plenty of female influencers celebrating that shit. BTW, I live with 2 of my 3 ex-husbands now. I seem to like dating back, quote crazy, but no. Yeah, WTF. What kinda cuckery is that shit? By live she means they're held captive in her basement. The third one managed to escape. She told me she wanted to go to a comedy show for our second date. But also she was in debt to a local cocaine dealer, so she would have to do a few deals while we were there to pay him back. Knock knock. Who's there? Not me. That's pretty idiotic, because hubby would be pushing her unwiped remnants into her vagina for the sake of vengeance. She fell on her own sword, for it is said that she who goes in search of revenge should dig 2 graves, not 1. Was she hoisted on her own petard? A girl I was talking to in college once implied the career path I was studying wasn't going to be able to provide for her standard of living. As if I was going to change my entire outlook on life to please a girl I'd known for 2 weeks and hadn't even met in person yet. A girl I matched with on Tinder told me I had to shave because she wouldn't kiss a guy with facial hair. I told her I didn't care, that I wasn't going to shave just because she wanted me to, and she dropped it. Turns out she was absolutely crazy, possessive and aggressive, and we never even met in person. Thankfully, we never did. But oh boy, was she insane. What sort of entitlement is that? Towards someone you've barely ever talked to? I'm not sure if I should be with you or go back to my ex. Ouch. Hope you told her to go back to her ex then. She was my first girlfriend, so I was desperate and convinced her to pick me. Looking back, the ex was the winner for not having to deal with her. You need to delete all your female friends from MSN. Facebook wasn't really a thing back then. Showing my age here, I told her only if she did the same with all her male friends. After that she let that thought go. I should've seen that bigger red flag, but I was 18. Stupid. And I was getting some. Took me another good year and a half to finally see all the flags and we broke up. Sex can truly blind a man. I think many of us know from previous experiences. One woman I was casually dating said that if she caught me looking at another woman, she would cut off my dick. I stopped seeing her right after that. Was her name Lorena Bobbitt? She might have been her cousin. If you leave me, I'll kill myself. Lying a host still alive. They always alive afterwards. You say that. I knew a guy who was a chemist who threatened his girlfriend like this. Even his own family told her to leave him. He had made his own cyanide pill in work and promptly took it when she left. He is dead, and she is still in touch with the family, even though she is married with kids. The guy was an absolute bellend! Exclamation mark. I want a baby and I don't care who with. I ran far and fast from that one. Feet don't fail me now. Big danger sign there. Feet Don't Fail Me Now is a great Queens of the Stone Age song. My grandmother is going on a cruise. Me, good for her. No way. She's spending my inheritance. Greed is a definite turn off for me as well. I'd rather you hit me than leave. I left. My crazy soon to be ex-wife used to say some dumb s like that, and I just straight up said why, so you have a reason to call the cops and f up my life. Was on a second date with a black woman. I'm white. She says I wish more black men lived around here. My brother's dicks were so big growing up. Apostrophe. So many questions now. Damn. I feel like Alabama answers every one of them. If Alabama is the answer, you're asking the wrong goddamn questions. A woman and I were talking in a good mood in a restaurant. A second later, the waitress bring a bottle of water and this woman started to yell her because we were in a private moment. It's cliche, but it's still true. Watch how they treat their server. That's how they'll treat you in a couple years. Apostrophe. Well, If you want to be less cliche, you can just say watch how the person deals with others, cause be it friends, family, or even non-relationship stuff like money problems or issues at work, the way they deal with those and overall deal with stress is how they truly are. Few people can keep up the facade for all that long. Brought a woman to my place on a second date. I was like 23 at the time. She sees my cat and says, "I hate cats. Put that thing out on the sun porch." I opened the front door and told her to leave. My cat was a very smug little girl the rest of the night. You chose the right pussy. Your money is my money and my money is my money. That's my marriage. She doesn't work and stands to inherit millions. I pay all the bills and desperately try to save for retirement cause you really can't count on the largesse of boomers. I really have no idea what she does all day other than terrorize her rivals on the hoa board, but she's repeatedly called me a conman who crushed her potential. I would take it personally, but she routinely says the same thing to her father. Today she told me that she was going to leave me, get an apartment and find someone else to help her realize her full potential. Apparently I think you're in for a rude awakening concerning what behavior other people will tolerate in a relationship partner wasn't an appropriate response cause then she told me that she is going to kill me in my sleep someday. I went to a midnight screening of a movie and some drunk woman and her husband, didn't know who they were at the time, sat next to me. The woman started hitting on me and I kept rejecting her advances, knowing she was drunk, and I also found her unattractive. Finally, she groped my crotch and after I told her to F off, she says to me, "My husband says it's okay if we take you home and F." Her husband nodded. I looked at them, shook my head, and fled. When I was 16 I had a dude at a ref Decembrists show grab me very aggressively by the back of the neck so he could scream in my face that his wife was hot as F and horny and I should F her, only to have my gaze directed to a very out of shape, obviously high off her ass, sweaty, thoroughly unpleasant looking woman who immediately tried to grab me and start grinding on me. Nope, the F out of there right quick. Intoxicated. Boundary lacking swingers are unnerving as all hell. I was on a date once and I was telling this girl how I did photography and she went back quote, "I love photography. Taking selfies is my passion. I aim to be on everyone's timeline at least 3 times a day." I said an emergency happened and left. She's definitely selfish. I also dislike shellfishes. First date she told me that I needed to prioritize her over my daughter. I called her a cab and ended up having to push her out of my house. Love the ending. I can't wait until we get married so I can finally let myself go. I think some wires got crossed and she accidentally said what she was thinking. Said the quiet part out loud. First week of talking and she asked I come to her city to meet her. It was at a 30-minute drive and I asked my female friend to drive me there since I don't have a car and she was gonna go to that city anyways. As soon as I arrive and meet her she pushes me away and says she can't be with me because I have a female friend. Keep in mind I was in a city I didn't know and she just left me there in the middle of nowhere over me having a friend for 3 years before knowing of her existence. She keeps sending me FLLW requests from diff accounts but just nope. I'm sorry that happened to you. She's a shitty person for leaving you stranded. I went on a first date wherein my date gave me a list of rules and one up the S out of me the whole time. Were I a less confident man, I might have felt awful about myself. Luckily I'm not, so I just felt awful about her. I come from a family of huggers, so that was my move at the end of the date. Even though it sucked for me, she stopped me and said no physical contact on first dates. It's a rule. And ick now. By that point, I thought that was a great rule. She said I hope you'll call, and I said bye. First date. We get along pretty well and have a nice evening. Then the waiters changed. Because of their shifts I guess. Our new waiter was a foreigner who was more fluent in English than German. When he said something and we didn't understand what he tried to say in German, he politely repeated it in English. She only replied with, "Speak German with me or go back home to your terrorist families." I stood up, paid my bill, gave the waiter a good tip, and apologized for her behavior. She told me she wants a man that treats her like the princess her father did. When I told her that I'm not her dad and I don't want to be, she threw her drink in my face. If that's how she treats an honest man, I wonder how she treated her father. I was taken home by a very attractive young lady a few years ago. After we did the diddle, I said I needed to go because I was working in the morning. She said I could stay if I wanted because her boyfriend was on his way home and she thought that he would like some of what she just had. OS. I don't like this thread because it makes me all the times a woman made a comment that should have made me nope out of there. Now we can learn together for next time. I think it's okay for women to cheat on men because men usually deserve it. This from a girl I was interested in dating. Not after that little gem. I can be a dirtbag, but you're not allowed. I had a girl tell me that a man paying is a privilege is to look manly. I told her what? No. Me being kind and generous is me being kind and generous. That is a privilege to the receiving party here. And she know. A man need to pay to feel good about himself in front of others. Otherwise he will internalize it as negative emotion and be sad. And I looked at her with the utmost confusion before walking away. This was after a third date with a girl. I usually pay because I have a somewhat high wage and I want to be kind. And while I'm not expecting anything in return, I'm certainly expecting to be seen as someone who is generous and kind. But to be told that I'm exerting a privilege for spending $120 on restaurant food which tastes worse than the food I cook for myself for $20, WTF is this? I met a girl in a hostel while I was traveling through another country. That girl was also from my country and we got along quite fast. Suddenly she showed me a video of an erect pea which gets stepped on by a high heel. Warning. Explicit description of the video. First it was just the foot, but then the heel pinched through the pea and a stream of blood came through the tip. Exclamation mark. The girl started laughing after the bloody part of the video was shown. Like for real. No fake laugh or anything like that. I had to think about that video for more than a week because it was so disturbing. Never asked to see this and I don't understand how that was funny. Pretty much stopped talking to her afterwards.